Now, this is common knowledge, but March Madness always provides a stage for players to make a name for themselves. I mean, sometimes a player's entire draft stock comes from the tournament, and this year is no different because this year, UCLA barely qualified for the tourney. They were the underdogs in basically every single matchup, and yet they went all the way to the Final Four where they finally lost to Gonzaga, who was undefeated at the time. But yeah, UCLA's run really lived up to the madness part of March Madness, and as it goes with any great team, there was a player at the forefront, a leader, someone that elevated their play to meet the demands of the playoff atmosphere. And for UCLA, that player was Juzang, a 6'6" shooting guard that showed up on little to no mock drafts before the tournament. I mean, basically zero. I didn't see him on any. And to be honest, I was barely aware of how good he was. But after performing so well on the national stage, averaging 23 points and 4 rebounds in March Madness overall, he's forced himself on the radar of many NBA scouts and credible figures like Kenny Smith, who would tell you himself, Juzang is a lock as a first round pick, which is incredible for a guy that many people had never even heard of. And what's even crazier is that just last season, this man was a Kentucky Wildcat, but wound up transferring to UCLA for a sophomore year for reasons I'll go over later. And man, Kentucky could have used him this season. He'd have been the best player on the team. So yeah, in today's video, we're gonna briefly look at Juzang's college career and why he will be a steal in the 2021 NBA draft. But before I go any further, what's up YouTube, Plug Speaks, back with a vid. If you are new, first of all, welcome, go ahead and sub. Also like the vid if you enjoy it. I drop bangers 3 to 4 times a week, and we are grinding for 5K, so I'd for sure appreciate it. I appreciate every single one of y'all, but back to the vid though. Now off the jump, we gotta bring it back to his freshman year at Kentucky before transferring to UCLA and see what went wrong, because his time at Kentucky was not ideal, and it's pretty interesting because, as we all know, although Kentucky basketball is fresh off one of their worst years and an embarrassing record, it doesn't discredit their history. They are still a blue blood, they have still sent many great players to the NBA, and they are still a program that plenty of hoopers across the nation would basically do anything to play for. And the fact that Juzang was ever offered and recruited by Kentucky is just further evidence of the eye John Calipari has for talent. However, during his freshman season, Juzang was not given the minutes warranted of a player of his caliber, and as a result, his numbers as a freshman are awful in comparison to what he's put up as a sophomore. And of course, Juzang was not coming off the bench behind bums. They were 2 NBA players, Immanuel Quickley, who's having a pretty good rookie year, and Tyrese Maxey. But with a talent like Juzang, I don't know man, you gotta make it work. And Juzang has already let it be known that he transferred to UCLA mainly to be closer to home, but it doesn't take a genius to know that the lack of opportunity at Kentucky had something to do with his choice to transfer as well. And again, in Kentucky's defense, when you bring in so many talented players, one and done worthy players each year, someone is bound to get the short end of the stick as far as minutes. So yeah, I'm not really trying to slander Kentucky, but man, like I said, they could have used a guy like Johnny Juzang this season, because this year they had several 5-star recruits like BJ Boston, Devin Askew, and Terrence Clark, yet their record shows it meant absolutely nothing. But back to Juzang. His entire sophomore year for UCLA has been a huge breakout year. Overall, he put up 16 points, 4 rebounds, and nearly 2 assists on 44% shooting from the field, 35% from 3, in 27 games played in the season, which is really solid. But that's not even the best part, because again, he was one of the main reasons that a team that barely made the tournament almost made it all the way to the championship game. They were underdogs against pretty much every single opponent, and teams knew he was the main guy to look out for offensively, and yet he still put up 23 points and 4 rebounds on 50% shooting from the field and 38% from 3 through 6 games played in the tournament. That's amazing. And it took a crazy half-court game winner by a potential top 3 pick in Jalen Suggs to knock this team out of the tournament. I mean, it really doesn't get any better than that, and it's not shocking that he's passed up so many players in projections for the upcoming NBA draft. But yeah, now as far as a quick look at Juzang's overall ability, his best quality is easily his ability to score the ball. And although I wouldn't say he's a complete 3-level scorer, his methods of scoring are still very hard to stop. I mean, just ask his defenders. Because this man has a great jumper, it looks pure, it goes in consistently, and overall most of his points come off perimeter buckets. Whether it be a spot up 3, a mid-range step back, or a dribble pull up, he just knows how to create his own shot, and he can shoot the 3 ball. And those are 2 things that are especially important in the modern day game. And then beyond his scoring, his basketball IQ seemed impressive all throughout the tournament because he makes the right play more times than not, and he's shown a very important quality among great players, which is simply patience, because time and time again, UCLA found themselves in huge late game moments, and usually Juzang would not rush his shot or force a bad pass. And the fact that he had 3 tournament games with 0 turnovers is a testament within itself. And sure, you could say he wasn't the primary ball handler for UCLA, I mean, you wouldn't be lying, but 0 turnovers is still a good look. And speaking of ball handling, Juzang is not very ball dominant. He is one of those players that will drop 20 or maybe even 30 with barely any dribbles, which makes for a very efficient offense. So yeah, overall there's just a lot of good he provides. And then as far as a quick look at his weaknesses, he's not much of a playmaker, his handles don't even seem tight enough to have that role, and then his scoring may be efficient, but remember, I didn't call him a 3-level scorer because he's not much of a force when driving to the rim, and as a 6'6" shooting guard, he has way too much scoring potential to not add that into his game. And then lastly, like a lot of scoring guards, his defense is average, but as we all know, that's way too common in the NBA, so he'll fit with no problems at all. But nah, really though, I believe this man will be a steal in the draft because I expect him to be taken in the 20s or anywhere after the 15th pick. And although I don't see him being some major star at the next level, he could be a very good role player, sort of like Tyler Herro on the Miami Heat, which is definitely a steal for a pick later than 15. And he wouldn't have the responsibility of being the primary ball handler either, so as long as his shot translates to the NBA range, he is bound to surprise a lot of people in his rookie year, especially if he's drafted into the right situation. That's major. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap this video up. Y'all let me know what y'all think of Johnny Juzang and where you would take him in the draft as far as pick number and all of that. I appreciate y'all watching as always for show. Like the sub, share it, sub if new, all of that, and I'm out.